Welcome to the regular water board meeting for the month of November.
Yeah, let's call the meeting to order.
Roll call, Steve Lavery,
Here.
Matt Willems,
Here.
Scott Elliott,
Here.
Teresa Hartwig, absent, Tony Perkins, absent.
First item on the agenda is the minutes from the October 7th meeting. You have a copy that was sent to you and also a copy at your place.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The only comments I have is, well, Matt, thank you for your brief service. We appreciate it, really you did. This is Matt's last meeting, so he thought he had to move, get married. You know, some people just got married and he didn't move, you know? I mean.
Those pheasant, I said.
Yeah, so, we are looking for a replacement. We've had a few people of interest. Again, we would like to get somebody that lives in Christmas Lake Village, because we currently don't have any representation from that area, so we'll continue to do that. We can function fine before, until we do find that person. And again, we'll have, at that point, we'll have to be someone we feel good about recommending and someone that the town board is willing to appoint, so. I wanted to just, I don't have a lot, but just let you know, we kicked around before this concept of becoming a regional water district. Kind of put it on the back burner while we were putting in these big backbone lines, because if we really want to say we're gonna do that, we gotta be able to move water. We're getting pretty close to that. And there was something came up, Kevin, attorney found it the other day. The state has started this study, and I had to contact them. They responded back. We offered to meet with them. They are studying, they divided the states up into, they divided up into big chunks, and then they divided the big chunks into regions, looking at how those regions get water and how they will need to get water in the future. Really don't know a whole lot about it, but I am going to spend some time with Kevin and whoever need to be in. We're going to kind of stick our nose in that and see if it's anything that's worth pursuing, or if there's anything there. Because if you recall, the one time we asked about the state about it, regional water districts are normally set up to service an area that has no service. They kind of looked at us and we said, we're already here. We're just trying to get around, help some of the funding issues. It would help with funding. The other thing it would help with is that 4-mile limit thing they have with supplying water. So you'd be able to supply water to a bigger area if you needed to. None of that may ever come, but we're going to stick our toe in the water and see what happens. I get any information that's substantive, I will certainly let everybody know. Reports. We've had a day with reports. Okay, the big spreadsheet. The first thing on it, there's been some adjustments, corrections to the cash balance side on the far. About 3 pages in. If you recall the last meeting, I said it seemed kind of funny that August was the same and it didn't come down, and it should have come down because we moved all the money to the capital fund. Well, sometimes spreadsheets can't act. This one didn't act for a little bit, so
I was like,
we have corrected those, and the cash balances that you see at the far right are correct. And the 591, normally we like to be around 700,000 at the end of October. We already took the money for this year out last year. So 591, and kind of expect that number to rapidly grow towards the end of the year. So I'm not too worried about it at all. It doesn't affect our capital projects. We have those funds already. That's where the money's at. So it's really not a big issue. The other thing is the Patoka gallons, the invoice was incorrect. Took a couple phone calls today, but we did get it corrected. And so when you see that we only took 385,000 gallons a day from Atoka, it's actually 411. And I corrected it on the sheet, and it will be on next month's corrected, so just to let you know. Otherwise, there's really not a lot in here. If you look at Chris's daily production report, the little box, it's about 3 pages back. You'll see that he took all of his water at one time. That had to do with some issues that the Atoka's been having, and that was done on purpose. Nothing broke, nothing bad happened. Did that totally on purpose. Basically took it early in the month and then just turned the plant on, let the plant do its thing, because, you know, we're in that 500 and some thousand gallon, 600,000 gallon a day range. The plant can handle that without any trouble at all, so. The next page, if you look at the Atoka bill, it's got a lot of scribbling, circles and scratches on it. Well, that's because, as I said, it wasn't right, but we got it fixed. What do you reconcile through September?
Yes.
Through September?
Mhm.
Okay. Transfers through September then
Yes.
too? Okay. So, right on schedule with that stuff. Any questions on any of the reports? Kind of give you an update on the GIS system. I have more than enough money when we get to the budget for the GIS system. I think I rounded up, and then when I got done rounding up, I rounded up again, and then I put it in 2 different places. So we're covered, on that. You did already sign a contract, so that's done. We're gonna have to develop some method to track the, catch-up, the old work orders, the old things that are on maps. I even put some money in for like overtime or something for the guys, like if, you know, they wanna come in and, you know, in the morning or stay one evening when they're uninterrupted and gather that information so that we can get it up to, Ziptility. And, so, Ziptility will put it in as part of the contract. We just gotta give it to them. I think otherwise, I mean, really, I think we've got everything in place on the GIS. The biggest thing is gonna be updating it and then getting used to uploading the information and doing that. Be a little bit of a learning curve as we get into next year.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is.
yeah.
But you're
See on it,
if you put it on your phone, I mean, it's
it's gonna be for water and sewer both.
Yes, we'll have everything, so, yeah.
I think we did most of the mapping.
Oh, you did.
23.
Yeah, so, I mean,
So
we've got
it's
so
pretty
much
fresh,
data.
it's pretty fresh.
We've got so much data, so, I mean,
But like if,
so much
Well, I
more
know-
to get.
Chris added some fire hydrants, so somewhere he's got that they added, you know, got a work order on a map that they added fire hydrant, so we gotta get the fire hydrant added on, you know.
Is that pretty accurate as far as where you're standing, like if you got an actual?
I think the one that we've got is 18 inches.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it depends, like, the water map was built off of like, you didn't locate the lines when we were taking the shots, we just took shots on like valves and hydrants and stuff above
Yeah.
ground, so.
A lot of the old ones.
The more you dig up old lines and find taps and stuff that are bad, or take shots, then
Yeah.
it gets more accurate all the time.
You build on
Initially here, like, I mean, it can be on the other side of the road, you know, if it's.
it. It could be in a ditch that you don't know it's in, it's got 4 feet of water in it.
Yeah, like an 18 inch on some of my water lines.
But every new shot going forward gets into.
Yeah, you can relate to this, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions on that GIS? Hope it's not broke. Okay, you do have, the next thing you have is, the diagram showing the, construction of phase one of the Bry Hill line. We had a pre-construction meeting on 10/30, and, 9:30 morning on 10/30. Met the folks who are going to be, doing the work, was very impressed with them. Thought they presented themselves well, seemed to know their stuff. So, thought that all went good. They are very anxious to get on to the project. And chasing order for going under the road, I know we mentioned it, are we in the process of getting a number on that, making that 12-inch under the road?
So kind of, just for everybody's knowledge there, right where we're turning, across from the cattle pasture there with the barbed wire fence to the, fire hydrant and barbed wires in the house there, flush hydrant. We're originally gonna take a 3-inch across, call it a pony line, just to connect to them. And then we were gonna keep going down the east side of the road. With the current map that we put together there, we're gonna actually start running down the west side of the road at that flush hydrant. And, we're gonna bore under the road then with the full size line to take it across the road there. We already had quantities for everything that we're doing there, so like the contract price, I don't think nobody has it here because they don't have a pay request in yet, but the contract price will increase, but we're not gonna actually do a change order. The quantities will just increase for those items for 12-inch and decrease for the 3-inch. But looking at it, the bore price for 3-inch versus 12-inch really wasn't that big of a hit. It was honestly a pretty good deal on the 12-inch, and it was pretty expensive on the 3-inch, so it'll end up working out. But they did mention that they wanted to take a look at it. If they come back and they say they want some more money, we'll probably just tell them no.
Yeah.
Really. So.
The other thing we had was the extension. Kind of, because this is gonna come up for us a little later here. We go under the road and come out the little red hydrant, and then we would head north on the west side of the road. And if you recall from the last meeting, there was a discussion that 15 to 20% seems to be about as much as we could do. How far that gets us is how far we can extend that line on the west side of the road. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, there's a legal threshold that
Yeah.
would make you rebid if you got over a certain amount of
Yeah.
extra quantity. So you can hit that threshold, and these gentlemen there from the contractor, they seem very eager to get all the project that they could. So they had no problem they talked about it, they seem to have no issue keeping their price.
Yeah.
If you extended it another 1,000 feet, they actually sounded
Yeah.
like they would be grateful if you did that, so, I don't know, I think they're planning on starting up here on the south side, so we'll get a little bit of a feel for if we like their work and how they're doing and that kind of thing, you know, before you guys have to make a decision there, so.
Did we figure out this 15% or 20%?
No, not yet, it's
And what I did, when we get to that point, and the reason I was asking about the bore is I didn't add anything, I added 20%, $748,000 contract. I added $150,000, 20%, and to our capital budget for next year, when we get to that, and said that's what we would have available then to spend on what I call phase one. So, we can't go over 20%, so, I thought, if we could end up at 15, whatever we end up at. I think it's a little over 1,000 feet to that driveway of Reeves and Evans there.
Gives a pretty good ways.
It gets us pretty good ways, it gets past Dan's house, it gets downhill, for sure, so somewhere in between.
So this is SLB's time.
Time frame, yes, for the current contract.
They told us they beat it. I tend to want to believe them because there's a few extra months we gave them in here, or probably 3 on my end, that I thought they could, most contractors could do it sooner, but ended up working out alright, because you get a good price.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's what it takes to give them a little extra time.
and if you know, of course, you got boring and all that stuff, but there's almost 7,000 feet of pipe here, okay? So if you said, well, we're gonna add even 15%, that gets you over, you know, well over 1,000, 1,200, you know, so we'll get, like I said, we'll see how the work goes and see where we're at. I ain't gonna put it in there, you will see it is already in the capital budget, to the additions, I call it, to phase 1. Let's see, Ed wants money. We have 2 invoices that are at your place, they are part of the loose paperwork that's laying there, there they are, those right there. We have one for $987.56, this is relative, this is for the tank inspection. Remember we had to do the warranty work, and we had Midwest do the inspection on the job. Chris just didn't want to, he was dying to climb up that tower 2 or 3 times, but I talked him out of it.
It was good, ended up being probably a good thing, because they found some more stuff that I think they touched up, talking to John maybe, so.
Yeah.
Got a 2-year anniversary too on it, so
Awesome.
ended up being alright.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to improve the invoice, number for Midwest Engineers, 202005802-02 in the amount of $987.56.
Second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next up we have is a bill for the Mariah Hill line. This is for construction engineering for $7,515.40. This is the first part. It looks like we've got, oh, this is for bidding. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is for bidding, not construction engineering. It's the final bill for the bid of $7,515.40.
That's to be paid from the county ARPA funds, right?
Yes.
It's-
Yes. Well, the first one, pay it out of capital.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve the amount of $7,515.40 for invoice number 2024-0800-006 to Midwest Engineers.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that is phase 1, where we're at. Moving on to phase 2. Let's do the route first before we get into it, so you kind of know what you're looking at. So you got, you need the big one I have to bring in the big copy, you need to see it. Ed, you wanna walk us through this and?
Yeah, so kind of I would just said there on Ray Kern's cattle pasture, we're gonna cross at the flush hydrant, and the thought now is to stay on the high side, the west side of the county road, parallel to your existing water main, down pretty well until there's a house that just got a big tree cut down its front yard, older house on the, real close to the road, across from Ball Block's place. We're talking about coming across there to miss that house that's real close to the road, and then the Apple house that Habitat built, and there was in Harbor home too there. So we're really running mostly on the west side of the road now is the current thought. We'll piggyback off of easements if we can. A lot of these, I think we're thinking now is we'll probably just go ahead and try to get a new easement, because we might be far enough away from the old water main. Some of the old water mains in the county road too. It's not necessarily on its own easement. it gets a little tight, there's some gas in there, we'll look at it after the survey and see, make sure we can miss all the gas and fiber on that side of the road, but really, you know, if we didn't have to, if we didn't have to cross down at the very end, we could really run on the west side the whole way, but with some of the fencing and how close the houses are there at the very end, what is that, 950? That county road that we're gonna connect at? It's 900, 950. They get just real tight there.
Yeah, there's,
But-
well, that house that they're working on is super tight, and then the next one down the road from it is just as bad.
And then we'll cut across the road, connect to the 6-inch, and then not on this map, but we talked about it, going ahead west one more block and connecting on and kind of making like a loop there.
There's a 6-inch over on the road that runs up, past the church, you know, where they do all, that's a 6-inch runs up that road. It runs up, stops in the parking lot of the church. But again, part of this down the road is to be able to move this water up through there. If we go ahead and run that over to that block and connect that 6-inch, at some point we connect the 6-inch that stops in the middle of the church parking lot and take it over the road by the current water tower. Then we have 2 6-inch lines coming off our 12 that are feeding the line along the highway. That's kind of the thought
There's
process.
flush hydrant there too, that one, at the church,
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a fire hydrant up there.
fire hydrant.
It wouldn't be when there's not a fire hydrant here, isn't there?
No.
Yeah, it's not on that map, it's,
One right here, and there's another one,
it's,
no, you're talking, I'm talking
It's
about.
one more straight over.
yeah, it's, here.
There's one more block.
So that's on this map.
This
Hydrant, hydrant on the end,
This
that's
is stuff here.
Yeah.
dead end.
Keeps going that way, don't it?
This
This is that house you just got bought.
There's a little red dot hydrant.
We should.
let's see, go,
There's a
go,
little red
go,
dot
go,
hydrant.
yeah,
This map,
yeah.
what is that? But anyway,
That
that's,
was pond,
that's what
yeah.
it's out.
Yeah, that's a 3-way hydrant there. Yeah, so we're coming in here and here.
Yeah, we're originally gonna connect here, now we're gonna come over here.
I should've done.
Yeah, so this is 1.5 inches on this map it shows on, but going over, you can't see it, you can't quite see it on this.
Yeah, you can't quite see it, it's one more.
Yeah, yeah, it goes,
Say, here's where we were connected, or we still will connect, okay? But then you come over and then there's the 6-inch and that's the church there. And it's running up along there, the church, and then runs over.
It is,
yeah,
not 2 inch.
I had to fix it.
We can, if that's a dead end, is it a dead end?
It is a dead end.
A little 1.25
It's an inch from, yeah, there's.
or 1.5
There's an inch and a quarter line right there.
Yeah. Yeah,
And there was a flush hydrant there,
there's a little red dot there.
it's no longer there, I got a blow off there now, so, yeah, so.
Yeah, well, you're gonna need it if we put that, we're gonna have some pressure.
But I mean,
But overall,
actually, it'd be nice to get a 6-inch ran down there and put a fire hydrant, so.
overall, it's about 5,000 feet what we show on the map, and then you'll have a few hundred extra there to get a couple more blocks over.
It'll get shorter if we extend, because this is from the little red hydrant. So if we add 500 feet, it'll get 500 feet shorter, you know?
But, so it's about 2/3 to 3/4 the size of the first phase there. Pretty similar lake conditions, really, it's a lot of hay fields, few more houses that are in yards that I like to contend with, but overall, it's not bad pipeline area. Few more utilities that are underground too, but hopefully a lot of meter reconnects and not a lot of new meter sets too on this. We'll just have to talk about that if they're bad or not for the year.
These are all, everything right up and upgrades, so.
Do you remember how many feet the phase 1 is?
Yeah,
Right at 7,000,
7,000.
about 7,000.
roughly, 68 something, almost
Oh,
68.
yeah, I saw that number somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, and 300, there was another like 300 foot or 4 on top of that, so it's 77 some change. But I gave everybody a cost breakdown there, and that's the cost breakdown of kind of what's on this map.
Yeah.
It doesn't have like a bunch of, it doesn't have meter pits and some of the smaller stuff, I kind of did it quick, but this was pricing that really a lot of it was, not the lowest, not SLBs, but it was a lot, more based on, Copper Ridge's pricing and some of the other, averages of some of the stuff like hydrants and that kind of thing, but it was roughly 500,000 in construction costs, so. If you get that pricing in, it was, you know, that's about what it'll take there for construction stuff, so.
And kind of my thought, we'll have to see how the year plays out, is they'll get this, we'll get to, we have an addendum for the engineering here in a minute. Just, we'll get the engineering done. Assuming everything goes well, we're gonna extend the existing phase one contract 500 to 1,000 feet, whatever it is. And do that, and that would all be done mid-26, maybe, latter quarter of 26. And then probably about this time, we would take a look and see, hey, can we fund, and release this contract in 27? And, get this done. I'd say we have a reasonable shot at that. You know, you never know just how the year's gonna go. And part of it too is like, you know, if we get in to have to buy a lot of easements, and that money starts adding up because you have legal fees and all this stuff. Those are all things that are gonna have to factor into it, and we're just gonna have to see where we end up. You know? 'Cause, you know, I'd love to see us even, I thought of this the other day, put an alternate out there and go ahead and make that 6 inch.
To 62.
In church, you know, we'll see how we get close to the end, we might have an alternate to the alternate engineering.
Yeah.
It's not that big a line on 162 though, is it?
It's
So 4 inch.
4 inch, I think it's a 6 up to about the water tower, so we probably
Yeah, I think
connect into a
that's-
6 and turns right into a 4.
That's,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, it was 4,
Yeah.
we tapped for my house.
it is 4 inch.
Yeah.
From Water Tower Road.
I
all
think
the
it
way
kicks,
to-
it kicks over going to the east, it's 4 inch too, isn't
Yeah, I think it does.
4
It's
inch.
only 6 inch for a very short,
It's,
but it's more to do that, to have 2 ways to get the water out of that 12. And, you know, you'd hate to have a break, you know, and not be able to, well, we'd still put water in town, but, you know, we got 2 6 inches, we gotta, nobody even notice.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, now I get a service leak.
What's that?
I get a service leak now, and I'm getting 5 phone calls.
Yeah,
So,
keep you on your toes,
It does,
Yeah.
so.
keep that water off.
the, next page after the engineering stuff is the, addendum 1 to the engineering contract. And this is to engineer what is on this piece of paper. Plus, including actually connecting the 12 at this 6 and that other 6. And it's, the addendum is for $143,000. And that gets this engineered and done up to the point of connection there, as shown on this map. For reference, the phase 1 project was 189, that's right above it.
It's in the packet here.
In the back.
It's right behind that.
Okay, it was stuck there.
Yeah. So for reference, the first contract was for 189,000, this would be for 143. And like I said, this would get us up to connect to the 2 6 inches there on the south side of
Yeah, well, this would, the extra 1,500, 2,000 feet, we'll go ahead and get that on plans for this guys for a change order too on those.
Yeah.
Whatever way we end up playing that.
Yeah, so there'll be, but do the engineer at all, and they may pull a section, say, okay, we're gonna extend that section, go ahead and do that section. That's part of this.
So we have the funds for the 143.
Yes, we
Then-
do. Yes, we will have money left. We're gonna get to that in a little bit, but yes, we will have,
Using that as part of our, what we had estimated for the
Yes.
total line.
Yes.
The remainder balance is what we'll use for the 143.
we were operating off about $1,400,000 was the number I was kind of hoping nothing went over. And of course, we came in considerably less than that, so, when we get to the capital budget here in a little bit, you'll see the breakdown, but yes, we're still gonna have a couple $100,000 left. For this engineering and easement stuff,
Yeah, I mean, the design and bidding there, you might see next year, so 75 of, about half of that, the other stuff would be in 2027, where the contracts
Yeah.
running with the contractor there.
we will put it in the 26 budget with the next thing, that's.
I was just kind of curious how we would work this amendment with the county, but we would just pay this and we'd let the county. go
Yeah,
with this.
because we'll have used up because we have 748 for the contract, and the engineering contract is, currently is 189, so that would be a little over 900,000, and they're only giving us 6.
Right.
So, well before we would get to paying this addendum, we would be into our own money again. We won't get the phase 1 bill without our money, because the entire first contract, 189,000 is coming out of that 600, and then there will be 748, whatever it is, call it 750. There won't be enough left to cover that, so.
And Ed, when did you, maybe I didn't hear it, maybe you said when did you plan on doing this work then?
We'll have to do the first, probably sheet, for this change order we're gonna do with SLB, we'll probably do that next month. The rest of it, I don't know, I'd like to I got a guy that's hoping right now, Paul, to start on easements, so I'll probably start the route. I'll probably start the route with Chris, so we can start getting started on easements this winter.
Really, we can't get it, but by, July, August next year, we should have all the engineering done, easements in place, and be sitting there with the documents determining when we're gonna bid it. And like I said, we wouldn't have spent the entire 143, because part of that is bidding, so we wouldn't be bidding.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the amendment number 1 to Midwest Engineers for engineering the phase 2, the Mariah Hill project in the amount of $143,000.
A second motion.
Any more questions on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I don't know if I brought up. You got a clean one, you got a clean one.
I do.
I think all I got's a copy, I have my good copy at home.
Yeah, I'll scan it with you, Jamie. I don't know. Oh,
There you go. You want me to sign 2 of them?
Yeah, and you can keep one, I'll take one.
Eleven four, is that okay?
How far are you going?
Before next month.
I don't know.
It's
Get one.
It is the fourth. Well, we got the
second.
I gotta do your calendar for a second.
It was too short, I tried. You reach it?
Hey, James, did you pull the minutes?
I didn't know.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's everything on the right hill line, right? Good to go?
Yep.
Ready to get started. Okay, well, once we get down the road here, you get sheet one done. Kind of figure out how far we're gonna go, we can just come back and hit that at some point, I guess it really doesn't matter if we do that.
Yeah, I'll give you guys this from the
Yeah.
extra quantities.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna stick money in there for about 150,000, because I don't think we can go over 20%, so what I'm hearing, so I'll just put that in.
Okay.
We divide it up how we need to, for either the change order under the road or the extension.
Yeah.
And, we should be good to go with that then. And, as far as getting started on the easements, I'm good with that. I really would like to try to see us use or talk to them about using their easements, even if we have to use their easement and modify it for, just make it a little bigger if we need to. Rather than, we've already, in a lot of cases, probably paid some of those people for these easements, and then we're gonna pay them again.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, I guess that's your guys' decision on the, are you wanting to stick with the same footage price if you end up having to buy new easements?
I guess, yes, we will, because we did already, but I would like to avoid and approach it more as, if we have to make a temporary work area, let's make a temporary work area. Most of, Kevin did those, they have a substantial work area on them. He usually made it pretty solid, so. Now,
Those easements on the right hill side, I don't know who would have done those back in the day, would it be a cabin? Probably.
no,
Those
No,
probably
we-
pretty
we
old
found-
easements.
We had some easy.
we would be, we'll get up to David Gobles, and that's where, I imagine that ran to his house originally, and then got added down, for those houses down there, so,
That was actually easy.
yeah, Kevin found easements for, I think, everything all the way to Rye Hill. So, it's just work with
Was there
him,
a
Ryan.
standard width on those?
Pardon?
Like, did people back when those had just a standard width?
There was actually footage on the ones that I seen, so.
Yeah.
16, a lot,
Yeah.
14 and 16, just weird footage numbers
Yeah.
on those old ones.
The newer ones, Kevin usually puts like 20 feet and then 10 feet each side, and then he puts a temporary work area while we're in there working. So, let's just make sure we look at that real good. We gotta buy it, but let's make sure we have to buy it. Okay? All right, that's all I got on that. We're gonna move on to budget, you can go home, because you really don't wanna sit here and listen to this nonsense.
No, I'm good.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nothing on, next item is cross connection, there's nothing on that. Chris, you did sign the lead contract?
I sent those to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, we're on to budgets, people, the exciting, fun stuff of the night.
There is one thing I want to say.
Oh, okay.
There is going to be another round of letters going out.
On lead test.
On lead testing, so I'm going to bring you a copy of it that we can put on the counter here, so. You'll have it, so.
I'm gonna throw it away. I will throw this one away.
It's, it'll be two sheets, I think it'll be two sheets, so. But that will get us in compliance until 27, and then that's when we start digging.
That's when PVC becomes hazardous.
That's, you know what, I just did 2 quarters or 4 quarters of EPA sampling, so.
Do you keep copies of those invoices?
Yes, I have them.
All right, I don't need it. All right, hang on, I'm just trying to, I got that stuff. All right, so you have, 3 sheets of paper at your place. We're looking at the ones that say November, they're loose, they're loose. November meeting revenue, let's do that one first. Because it has almost no changes on it at all. From the October meeting, there were 2 accounts, and they've been highlighted on your sheet there. If it came through. It kind of did.
Right.
Good enough.
Jay looked into them, there were no irregularities. One has to do with the $35 inspection fee, and one has to do with the $750 connection fee. And you can see that I made one of them $1,000, and I made one of them $10,000. And that was because that's how I was feeling at the moment, and that's what we did. My crystal ball was broke on exactly how many houses were gonna get built, and, so it was 1,500 last year, and 13,500, I cut them both down and went on. Otherwise, everything on that sheet is the same as it was at the October meeting. Okay? Any questions on the revenue? We won't approve this until the December meeting, but I want to have a pretty good consensus that this is what we want, because I'm gonna have Jane put it into the spreadsheet, for the December meeting. And basically what I did on this sheet for the October one is, like the first one, it says 735,000. When I did the math, it might have come out $734,800. Budgets, I deal in big numbers, my crystal ball's not that good. Generally deal with $500, there's a few of these have to be a little different. Okay? All right, the next one that says November meeting is the expenditures one. This one's got lots of highlighting on it. Let's skip the very first line, we'll come back to it. Okay, if you recall, there were 2 accounts. The first one is the second one highlighted down there, that 339 other plant and equipment. And then a few further down is 348. And they were kind of out of whack from what we had budgeted. Chris and Jane both, myself, we did some research. We identified, and if you look to the right, you can even see the amount. We identified invoices that were in those accounts that didn't belong in those accounts. So what I did was I took the amount that did belong out of the expenditures through 831 and did my math. Divide by 8, multiply by 12. And then I also went into account 39.001, which is plant operations, and put that back in there, because that's where it should have been. So those 3,900 accounts and the 348 have been adjusted, and the only adjustment from the October is to move the invoices out of the wrong account, put them back in. Okay? That's all I did.
And that's where you ended up with the 165.
Yep, that's how I got to the 165 and how I got to the 4,000 for the 339 and the 4,500 for the 348. Okay, everything else in here that we're gonna go through relates to the GIS system. So 343, which is garage tools and shop equipment, I added $2,000 to that for equipment that we would need for the GIS system. This is basically the locating gizmos and that kind of stuff, okay? So, and we actually have a quote for that, didn't make that number up, just, we have it. Then I mentioned earlier, down in salaries, 601, I added $2,500 in there, in case, because Chris wants the guys to do a lot of this work, and maybe there'll be times when they need some quiet, or they need to just come in when there's, 6 o'clock in the morning, when there's nobody there, and knock something out. So I put in a little extra in there, for the overtime or, for that. Then down in 604, in benefits, we're, if an employee uses their phone, they get paid $40 a month, is that what it is, Jane? 40 for?
It's $45 a month, but it's only department heads.
Okay. Alright, so I put that in there, because he's gonna.
I got one, but I need to know.
But anyway, I put some money in there for that. And then the contract, was for $9,500, and I added that to contractual other, the very bottom one down there, that's $635. There's a note out there about, lead testing, and we mentioned Chris started signing a contract, well, we had that money in there last year, so all we have to do is leave it alone and roll over. Okay, so when I did all that, I ended up with go to the very top line, the 250,000. I actually ended up with $250,200 in excess revenue. So what we've done in the past is that we moved, so I moved 250, $200 alone. I moved the 250,000, well, remember the way this works, you have to show it on here as an expense in capital improvements so that it can be transferred to the capital account where we spend it out of. Okay? So if you're okay with that, we'll go to the draft of the capital budget, which has that 250,000 on it. Okay? Again, we're not gonna approve this tonight, but
So I got a quick question, Scott.
Yes.
So, is that gonna, I know we're working on 26,
yes,
but in order to keep our, primary count, I guess I would say, at the level we wanted,
Right.
can we move 250 or should we?
we can, and we won't need to move it until later in the year. Okay?
But that we got, it's in there, so by the end of the year we can move it.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is when we have this discussion about, do we go ahead and do the Mariah Hill line in 27, that is gonna be a really important question, that amount needs to have moved up. Okay? We might wanna tap it, but we need to know it's going in the right direction.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, watching the cash balance next year, the primary focus there is gonna be, will we be in shape to do the Mariah Hill line in 27?
I'm following with you.
Okay? All right, if you wanna go over and take a look at the draft of the 26 capital budget, and I'm kind of, and I don't know if maybe I need to adjust it, but So the 517,000 is sitting in the capital account. That is what is sitting in the capital account. It is, I got too many papers, too many places. Hang on. It is actually $517,431. But again, I deal in big numbers, so I did away with the $431. So that is the money, that 517 is in the account, it is sitting there. Okay? The 600,000 is what the county has given us. Okay? What I didn't do was, I've got the full 189 down in the contract price. You know, I could subtract whatever we paid so far and do that.
Mhm.
There is no requirement to even have this budget approved, okay? I do it more just so everybody knows where it's going.
Mhm.
So we have 600,000 in county funds, that is committed, we have the letter, we're there. In 26, in somewhere between July and August, June and August, it's been as early as June, late as August, we will get our $100,000 payment we get from the county.
Mhm.
And that goes into the county, into the capital fund. And we have had the discussion with the county, and we will get one in 26 and one in 27, that will be the last one.
27 would be.
Yeah. See, we've already spent that. 27. That's where way out here on the side, I can't see on the spreadsheet. And then the 250 that we just got done discussing, and to your point, we never move it before March. We won't really have a need to move this. We want to move it in June or July, we can move it then, you know.
It's usually March, I think.
Yeah, we don't want to do it till, we like Jane to get her year closed and get through all that stuff and then move it. And our cash balances due, to your point, Steve, having enough operating money, in April, May, they start their upward trend from, coming through the winter months. So that's in our budget, you know, if we spend a little less, we make a little more, we'll have a little extra, you know? If we spend too much or we don't make enough, we'll have a little less. Okay. The little less will show up when we start talking about building the line in 27. Because then we wouldn't be moving anything, because we have to see that number going up. Okay, so that gives us $1,467,000 of available capital funds. Okay? And if you recall, that's pretty close to the number I kept preaching, that it can't be much bigger than that. Okay? So we have our engineering costs for phase one. That contract is signed, and we've actually paid a very large chunk of that 189 out already, and it has all come out of the 600. Okay? Then we have signed, I actually signed the notice to proceed, and everything at the pre-construction meeting, so that is done. 748, 655 is done. There will be the changing the one bore from a 3-inch to a 12-inch. But that is in there. And that's what the next line is. The discussion we were having about, you can change the contract 15 to 20%. So what I did was, for the 12-inch bore and for the extension, I said it can't be more than 20%. And 20% in round numbers of $748,655, $150,000. So put that in. Okay? And basically, however far that gets us. Okay? Unless,
Should we add in here the commitment we just made to Midwestern?
oh, it's coming, we're just about there.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Oh,
so,
here it is, yeah, I see it.
yeah, so now, total expenses for phase one are the $1,087,655. So we are budgeting in 26, because we will finish that project in 26. $1,087,655. That leaves us for phase two, $379,345. Now, when I made this out, I didn't have Ed's addendum yet, okay? I have since upgraded the one that is on my phone. The other thing I didn't know was what to do about easements. I already have in the expense budget legal fees for any work Kevin has to do. And I think what I did, if I recall, you see about my math, I think I remember what I did here. You know, had to have a method to the madness, and I think I had one. Yeah. I said it was 6,000 feet, it's not even 6,000 feet, it's actually less than that. It is 5,000. It's not even quite 5,000 feet. So I use 6,000. Well, it might need a little more because it made it a little longer if we went an extra block. So I said if we had to buy easements for the entire line, which I am really not expecting us to do, okay? That was 21,000. So if I take Ed's quote of 143, and I'm not doing this in my head because I have my copy over here. I did do that before I came over. And the 21,000, that's 164,000 to be spent on phase two in 2026. I know we won't spend that much because we probably won't do, we know we won't do any construction in 26. We probably won't do any, we may or may not do contract bidding. Those would all be, they are all pieces to that 143. But I put it in there, okay? And then I got 21,000 for easements, and we're probably not gonna have to buy that much easements. But I put it in there. That leaves us $215,345. Okay? So back to your point, Steve, on the 250, you can see we really don't even have to move it until really later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if for some reason the rails come off next year, we actually can get this done, not
Right.
right?
Right.
But I'd rather have it in there, so. But that's kind of the draft of what I'm looking at for the, capital budget for 2026. And I thought I'll just, 143, I'm gonna leave it all in there, the 21,000, that's more than enough.
Well, as we kind of learned how to use the capital fund is to put it in there as close as we can and try to move that money into there every year.
Yes. Yeah, try to get it in there, and, it will be next year, one of the nice things, we're getting better at the cash reports and credit card transfers and all that stuff, we won't have those issues we had in 24. We'll have a much better idea of where our cash balances are, and, like you said, we just need to see that moving up. Being at the 591 doesn't concern me, unless this time next year it's still at 591. then I'm a little concerned. So we wanna see those move up going forward.
Well, I definitely know you try to do a capital budget for a year, say 26, but really projects are
Yes,
going from one year to the next, and it's really simpler to keep track of it if you do it by the project
yes,
than it is by the year, because you don't know which,
No.
change order or bill's
No.
gonna come within that year.
and the fortunate thing is we're not held to a budget. So
Right.
this is,
Right,
is quite honestly, is as much for our information
right.
and knowing the ins and outs of it, as anyone's. So,
So I mean, that's how I would look at a capital
Oh.
project budget, and then you make the budget for that project.
yes,
And not necessarily by the year.
and we almost do it twice, because we have the budget for the project, we know what the
Right.
project is, but
Right.
since we have another one going, and we don't quite know what that one is, because we don't know what the change order is and what the extension's gonna be.
It looks good to me. I mean, I followed along, so.
Alright, find out if we're right or wrong, so, I will prepare final copies of all of this based on, capital, I just gotta make a couple of changes, I don't want to make any changes, I simply gotta. I'll probably stick this on another tab in the spreadsheet, Jane. Or maybe I'll just make a new spreadsheet and send it to you or something.
Okay.
Or I might just print it and send it like this. We really don't. Because the capital kind of changes every year because, like Steve said, it kind of depends on where we're at in the middle of the project, how you put it together.
Mm,
So I'll put these numbers into that spreadsheet.
Okay, you wanna put them in and then you've got the totals there that need to match up and then I'll get a good copy of this, capital budget and, I'll send that and we'll have those for the December meeting to approve. And then I'll be on the agenda for the December town meeting
Okay.
and I'll present it there.
Well, I was looking for the voucher, man. I thought I saw it somewhere.
It's on the fancy, agenda.
No,
Got water vouchers in the amount of $110,539.26. $110,539.26.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $110,539.26.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I said it.
Your final second? We're adjourned. Again,